Hi everyone, Sean Duca here, and we've definitely been going through some interesting times over the last couple of months. Hopefully, you've all fared well, and you're all healthy and all safe as well as your families are too. I think we best way to sort of really summarize, I think, where we actually are point in time, where organizations are actually going through some of the challenges they're actually experiencing, is really where I think about three distinct phases. The first phase, if we probably cast our minds back to probably the week of the 16th of March, I think was a time where most organizations around the region really were focusing on how to ramp up an entire workforce remotely. That's what I really call phase one. And that was a challenging time for some organizations where they struggled to really work out how to get every single one of their employees up and running remotely. And some fared better than others. But I think with that, there was obviously a lot of learnings and a lot of teething problems that really sort of came out of it as well. The second phase is really around where people started to learn from those first, that first phase and started to think, what is it that we need to do differently? And that really comes down to one, testing out and regularly looking at how do they actually start to create a very sustainable and resilient business. If you think about it, the concept of what we focus on is really around cyber, it's how do you ensure that we're making a cyber resilient business. And that's really around looking at everything from the plans you've got. And it's not a case of having the big book of plans, so to speak, on your desk, but more around what are the roles and responsibilities that people actually have in the event of an incident, if in the event of a disaster recovery. I'd probably say that it's safe to say that most organizations never really plan for what happens if a pandemic was to hit them. You know, we have processes and procedures in place in the event of probably if a cyber attack was to take place, or if a building was to catch on fire, we knew what to do and how to maintain the business operations or the critical business operations from running. But I think where people need to think about in this second phase is how do we ensure the continuity of our business? What are the things that we need to do? And really having those regular fire drills and testing it out, what's everyone's roles and responsibilities in the event that this happens. Because in times of a crisis, no one's ever really going to look at that plan and just say, let's actually look at the plan and see what we need to do. But there's always going to be different scenarios that we should be regularly practicing and rehearsing to work out whose role is what. Because to use the analogy to a team sport, no one ever picks their team the day of the game. We should be thinking about who is on the team right now. Who are the people? What's their roles? There's no point exchanging business cards with vendors, suppliers, and people that actually come in the event that something actually goes wrong. Today's the day that we think about it, and we should practice for that day. Secondly, the other part of that phase is we knew that from the phase one, most networks were architected and designed to really probably cater for 20, maybe 30% users that were remote access. Now is the time that we should really be thinking about re-architecting those networks and think about how do we actually go through a process where globally we're seeing right now that there are second waves coming through. We're seeing some spikes in different countries. Some are faring better than others. But we should be thinking about if this was to happen again, and let's say for argument's sake there was another pandemic that was to come through, could we really turn on the ability to have a remote workforce instantaneously? And how would that look like? What would that mean? And this is where I'm starting to see this gradual shift where it starts to now move into the third phase. And if you think about it, for many, many years, all of us have really been going to work. So think about people, process, and technology. People go to work. In the third phase, I think what I like to call the new now, many call it the new normal. I think the new now is something that every single day it changes and it frequently keeps on getting evolved and changing all the time. And this is where I see every single business transform. And this is where I also see that people play a pivotal part in this one because rather than people going to work, we need to think about how do we deliver work to people. I think the definition of a campus, a branch, headquarters, a remote user for that matter, are also really redefined yet again. And we need to start thinking about how do we start to really enable our users, irrespective of where they are, whether it's a coffee shop, whether it's working from home, a hotel, on the road, even in one of the offices, how do we surge up that ability that they can remotely work wherever they need to? How do they get access to the key information that you've got, the applications that you're building? And this is where I'm seeing a very big shift where many organizations are transforming the way that they use applications, leveraging cloud computing even more, in particular public cloud infrastructure, and building out a lot of those legacy architectures and applications and moving it out into the cloud. At the same time, we need to have the ability that we could surge up our requirements to have a remote workforce instantly. And this is where I'm seeing that whole transition really move into a world that we're pushing out the perimeter right out to the edge, that we can make some intelligent decisions right in the cloud. So I think the opportunity is now where every organization will go through each of these three distinct phases. We've all done phase one. Depending on the size of the organization, depending on the maturity of the organization, you're probably at different stages of 2 and 3 right now. But with that, I just want to say that we are here to support you. We're always going to be willing to provide assistance. Everyone, hopefully, for those of you that I haven't met in the past, I hopefully will get a chance to meet you face to face once all this passes. But I'm here as well as the local team to obviously support you. So with that, take care, stay safe, and I look forward to actually working closely with you as your organization goes through this transition and journey into what I call the new now. Thank you very much.